DJ.
Hello everybody, here you have your sister, Precious Fatima Zahra. For this first episode of Anesthesia of a Life, I'm so happy having you. And I'm sorry you've been waiting for so long time, but I'm here, I'm definitely here. So, before we go further, I just need to ask a question. This will be my first question. What is more beautiful than being a woman? I am a woman. And I know my brother would say being a man, but I don't care about that. So the most important for me that is, I am a woman, I'm black, I'm a Muslim, and I'm proud. That's the most important. But don't worry, we will not be talking about that. We'll be talking about being black, being African, and we will talk about our Panafricanist. My today's guest is a Panafricanist. He is a disciple of Cheikh Anta Diop. Cheikh Anta Diop is a Senegalese. He is an African. He did a lot for black people. But unfortunately, I'm talking about him, but I don't know him. We never teach us about him. But anyway, there are some people who know who he is. Runoko Rashidi is someone who worked a lot to find out what our history is. What is blackness? So, another question is that, do you and I know really what African history is? The only thing I know, I'm going to talk from my own perspective, is the period between slavery till now. And it's not all the time true. But what was here? What is our history before slavery? This is the question. We're going to talk to Runoko Rashidi. We're going to listen to Runoko Rashidi. Unfortunately, we will not have the chance to have everything. So let us listen to Runoko.
My name is Runoko Rashidi, a historian, anthropologist based in the United States.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your work, your job, and how did Cheikh Anta Diop works that impacted on you?
Well, Cheikh Anta Diop was one of the first big influences on me. I read him as a university student. I thought it was very complex at that time, and if I were to read him today, I would still think it was complex.
Yeah.
But certainly he was a big inspiration. First of all, his work on Nile Valley civilization, and then later on, his book, The Cultural Unity of Black Africa, was very important to me. And he's also one of the first people who I read that had done a lot of work on the African presence in Asia. And I think my early work as a historian was associated with that, so it was a big deal. So what I do now, I've moved from being a student activist to organizing programs for historians and scholars to come and speak to university students, to becoming something of a writer myself, and then traveling and seeing a lot of the things that I wrote about. So now we've come full circle. We're in Africa. I have a tour group of 20, and it's very satisfying. And a lot of it, you could say, is inspired by the work of Cheikh Anta Diop.
Okay. Which of your production, your works, that make you so proud of you, and that maybe will make you think that if Cheikh Anta Diop was still alive, will be proud of you.
Well, I've written or edited 21, 22, 23 books now.
Okay.
In fact, I've had 2 new books come out in the last month. So I'm very proud of that. I think that I would say 1 or 2 books. One would be the African presence in Asia. I've had 6 books on the African presence in Asia. 2 in French. And I think that's an area I like to think he would be proud of. It's something different. Not many people have done a lot of pioneering work. But also I've been able to collect photographs from the museums and various temples and archaeological sites around the world. And we're kind of the belief that seeing is believing. And I would think he would be very proud of that. Now, I was supposed to do a lecture with him way back in the mid-1980s. but there was a mechanical difficulty with his plane.
Yeah.
So I never got to meet Sheikh Anta Diop, but of course a lot of my work is inspired by him, and we cite him a great deal.
Okay. So you have been around Africa. You have been traveling around Africa. So I guess the continent is not so perfect. It's not perfect anymore. So if there is anything that you want to change in our continent just to make it better, what will it be like?
I'd like to improve the relationships between Africans in Africa and outside of Africa. There are constant efforts to divide African people up.
Yeah.
And I hate that. When I see that, I feel like the slave master and the colonizer should pat themselves on the back and say, good job. One of my great inspirations who knew Sheikh Anta Diop was a man named John Henry Clark, who would say we need to spend more time talking about where we got picked up from rather than where we got dropped off.
Yeah.
There's an emphasis now to concentrate on where we got dropped off and to show the divisions amongst us.
Okay.
And we will never be a strong people until those divisions are healed. So when I hear about the different tribes and this group of Africans and that group of Africans, it's very distressing to me.
Yeah.
And I'm determined to do whatever I can to heal those wounds and heal that divide.
Yes. So yesterday you have said something that really touched me, because that was really something that makes me believe in your pride of being African. You said that you don't want to be called African American, but African living in America or from America. So why is it so important for you to come back to Africa? And if there is any country or any country you want to live in Africa, where will it be?
Well, it's a big deal right now in the United States for us to have DNA tests and to be able to trace our lineage to a particular group or a particular region. None of that for me. Yeah. I want the whole continent, from Cape Town to Cairo and from Senegal to Somalia. And I can see myself living in many, many parts of Africa. Yeah. I think that the only good thing about the transatlantic slave trade, the only good thing, is that since a lot of us don't know where we were taken from, we want to claim the whole continent. And it's inspiring to me to, even today, to come here and see sisters and brothers from the United States married to sisters and brothers in Senegal. I think we need all of that we can get. Now, what keeps me from being completely frustrated is when I realize that what we have suffered as a people for hundreds and hundreds of years, and I always say that we are a miracle. The fact that we are here today, that we've come back from across the Atlantic, this time in a plane as opposed to a ship, says a tremendous amount about the resilience of our people. That we are the strongest of the strongs. We are the ones who have survived it all and come back here with a love for Africa, with an effort to, trying to say that our struggle in America is not fundamentally different than the struggle in Africa. Do you know that the U.S. Civil Rights Movement and Black Power movement coincides with the struggle for national liberation in Africa? And that we must make an effort to see the commonality rather than the divisions. And that's a serious struggle. So I'm very inspired to be here. And every time I come to Africa, and I've been in every region in Africa, I feel blessed, I feel honored, I feel fortunate. Thank
you. So last question will be, as we don't know each other, African and African living in America don't know each other. They do not understand each other. So what it looks like to be Black and living in America, African living in America.
To be an African living in America means to be under a constant state of stress, duress, a constant state of tension. We're not safe even in our own homes in America. So the United States may be the most powerful country in the world, but for African people, we are still the victims of racial discrimination. I think that we will never be strong in America until Africa is strong. And I think that Africa will never be strong until Africans outside of Africa participate in that process. And what gives me hope is knowing that Africa is still the richest continent in the world in terms of mineral resources. And to see young, brilliant Africans like yourself and my brother here, that gives us confidence. So I think that we have to inspire each other. We have to work with each other, not for each other, but work with each other. And so for me, I think the future of Africa and Africans is very, very bright.
So please, if there is any message you want to leave our young Pan-Africanists here around Africa, as you are a Pan-Africanist, what is the message you want to leave them?
It's an old message, and that is Africans unite. We need each other. Africa is my mother. Africa is my home. And I want to be enfolded in the arms of my mother. That my love for Africa is unboundless. That in spite of all the challenges, and yes, the imperfections, Africa is still home for me. And I will defend Africa with my last breath.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dear African, dear brothers and sisters, let us just try to know ourselves first. You know, the most important is being a human being. This is the first thing. But knowing your identity is what's going to make some people, the others who are different from you, respecting you and loving you. What really makes me ashamed is sometimes you may see an African and call him or her African. They will not accept the fact of being African. They will just say, I am from this country. But that country is in Africa. But anyway, let us try to be proud of our continent. Let us try to be proud of our blackness. Let us come together. What is more beautiful than being a family? Loving each other, respecting each other, and seeing each other as a brother or a sister, as a mom or a dad, a grandmom or a grandpa. For me, it's not difficult. We just have to decolonize our mind. This is what we have to do. So, please, because I'm a black woman, but even in Africa, even in Senegal, even in my own family, what I used to hear is, oh, Fatou, you're so black, you're dark. But it doesn't mean you're so beautiful. It is something else that is really horrible. But I don't understand that fact. Am I supposed to be white? Am I supposed to be yellow? I am African. I was born in Africa. I am supposed to be a black. So let us be proud, brothers and sisters. That was a pleasure having you again. That was precious, Fatima Zahra. See you next time. Love you all. Blackness first.